What if I told you that nothing, absolutely nothing, is out of your reach? That the only thing standing between you and your greatest desires is not the world, not circumstances, not luck, but a simple shift in your own assumptions. Think about the biggest dream you've ever had, the one that feels too far, too impossible. Now, what if I told you that you already possess everything you need to make it real? The question is, are you ready to claim it? My friends, I tell you this, the world you see before you is not the cause of your experience, it is the effect. Look not to circumstances to dictate what is possible. For all that you see was first imagined. Your life, your successes, your challenges, all emerged from the unseen realm of mind before they ever took form. You have been given a gift greater than any treasure on this earth, the power to assume a state and make it real. No condition is beyond your ability to transform. No desire is beyond your ability to receive. If you can imagine it fully and live in the joy of its fulfillment, it must come to pass. This is law. Do not beg, do not wait. Do not seek permission from the world, for the world is but a shadow cast by the light of your assumption. Instead, claim within yourself the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Walk in the conviction that what you seek is already yours, and the world will reshape itself to reflect your inner certainty. Doubt whispers that things are impossible. Reason will argue for limitations. But I ask you, which is more real, the outer world, ever-changing, or the infinite power within you? The moment you persist in the assumption that your desire is yours, reality must bend. Close your eyes. Feel the joy, the confidence, the peace of knowing it is done. Linger in that feeling, and you will see how swiftly the world responds. Doors will open where none seem to exist. Opportunities will emerge, drawn by the unseen force of your belief. Nothing is out of reach, for all things exist within you now. Assume the state. Live from it. And watch as the world echoes back the truth of your imagination. Imagination is the foundation of all that you see and experience. Everything that exists in your world was once a thought, an idea, or an image in someone's mind before it took shape in the physical realm. The home you live in, the chair you sit upon, the device you hold, each was first conceived in imagination before becoming reality. This is not philosophy or speculation. It is the nature of creation itself. What you consistently imagine, you bring to life. The world around you is a mirror reflecting your inner world, your deeply held beliefs, and the assumptions you accept as true. Every event, circumstance, and encounter is an outpicturing of the unseen reality within you. This is the great secret, that few understand. Reality is not something happening to you. It is something happening from you. To change your life, you must first change your inner conversations, the images you hold in mind, and the feelings you dwell upon. Imagination is the creative force of the universe, and you are using it at every moment, whether consciously or unconsciously. You may believe that external forces determine your success or failure, but this is an illusion. The only force shaping your destiny is the movement of your mind. When you assume something to be true, whether good or bad, you set unseen forces into motion that must, in time, make it so. You do not need to know how it will happen. You only need to persist in the feeling of its reality, and life will rearrange itself accordingly. Throughout history, those who have accomplished great things first dared to see them in their imagination. Every discovery, invention, and breakthrough began as a vision in the mind of one who refused to accept the limitations of the present. The greatest leaders, artists, and innovators have all understood, consciously or unconsciously, that imagination precedes its manifestation. They lived in the conviction of their vision long before the world recognized it as real. Your current life is a reflection of your past imaginings. Every fear, every doubt, every you once entertained has played a role in shaping the experiences you now encounter. But this truth is not one of limitation. It is one of liberation. For if your past thoughts created your present reality, then your present thoughts are shaping your future. You are never bound by what has been, for you are always free to imagine anew. To awaken to this power, you must first become aware of what you are imagining throughout the day. Most people drift through life, allowing their minds to be dominated by worry, complaint, and reaction to the world around them. They see something unpleasant and dwell upon it, unknowingly reinforcing it. They fear lack and limitation, and in doing so they ensure its persistence. They believe things must remain as they are, because they fail to recognize that their assumptions are the cause, not the effect. To consciously create the life you desire, you must take control of your imagination. You must dwell upon the images of what you wish to experience, not what you wish to avoid. When you close your eyes, do you see yourself as successful, joyful, and fulfilled, or do you see struggle, failure, and limitation? If your inner world is filled with lack, it is no wonder your outer world reflects the same. But if you train yourself to consistently imagine the best, you will find your world reshaping itself to match. It is not enough to merely wish for something. Wishing implies separation, a sense that what you desire is far away. Imagination works through feeling. You must enter the state of already having, already being, already possessing. Assume it so completely that it feels real to you, more real than the evidence of your senses. The senses only reflect the past. Imagination creates the future. If you persist in this assumption, it must in time harden into fact. Doubt is the great enemy of creation. Many begin with enthusiasm, imagining a better life. But the moment they see no immediate change, they fall back into disbelief. They look to the outer world for confirmation instead of trusting the inner reality. But true imagination does not waver. It does not require proof, for it knows that the world must eventually conform. When you plant a seed, you do not dig it up each day to check its progress. You trust that beneath the soil unseen forces are at work. So it is with imagination. Assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled and leave the details to the wisdom that governs all things. There is no limit to what imagination can achieve. The only limits are those you impose upon yourself by believing in them. If you tell yourself that something is impossible, you are using the same power that could create it to deny it. The same mind that can envision success can also envision failure. The choice is always yours. Choose wisely. For what you repeatedly imagine, you will inevitably experience. Every night before sleep, you have the greatest opportunity to reshape your life. In those moments before drifting into unconsciousness, your mind is most receptive to suggestion. Instead of replaying the troubles of the day, deliberately construct the scene of your ideal life. See yourself as you wish to be. Feel the joy of already having it, and let that feeling carry you into sleep. In doing so, you impress upon your subconscious the blueprint of your future. If you persist in this practice, you will wake to a world transformed, for the unseen forces of imagination will have begun their work. Nothing stands between you and your desires except the belief that something does. All that you seek is already within you, waiting to be claimed. The moment you accept this truth and live from it, the world must respond. Imagination is not a mere escape from reality. It is the very force that shapes reality. When you understand this, you will no longer wait for life to change. You will change it at its source. Assumption is the foundation upon which all creation rests. It is not wishful thinking, nor is it idle fantasy. It is the deliberate, conscious acceptance of a state as true, regardless of external appearances. When you assume something with conviction, you set into motion unseen forces that shape your reality in accordance with that assumption. Every great change, every transformation, and every manifestation in life comes not from struggle, but from the simple act of assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Your world is nothing more than a reflection of your assumptions. You do not experience as it is. You experience life as you assume it to be. The beliefs you hold about yourself, about others, and about the world dictate the circumstances you encounter. If you assume that you are limited, that opportunities are scarce, or that success is difficult, life will mirror these assumptions back to you with unwavering precision. But if you assume that you are abundant, that doors open effortlessly, and that you are always in the right place at the right time, then life will conform to that assumption just as easily. Assumption does not require proof from the outer world. It is the cause, not the effect. Most people wait for circumstances to change before they allow themselves to believe in a new reality. They look at their current conditions and assume that they are bound by them. But assumption operates in the opposite manner. It does not wait for proof. It creates the proof. When you assume something to be true, you impress that belief upon your subconscious mind. And from that moment forward, your world begins to shift to match it. The process of assumption is not about forcing or wishing. It is about knowing. When you assume a state, you must enter it fully, feeling as if it were already true. You must lose yourself in the feeling of the fulfilled desire so completely that it becomes your natural state of being. You do not need to concern yourself with how it will come to pass. The how is not your concern. Your only task is to remain faithful to the assumption, to dwell in it, to persist in it, and to refuse to entertain anything that contradicts it. Many believe that change is difficult, that it takes time and effort to alter the course of their lives. But assumption is instantaneous. The moment you assume something to be true, you shift your state of being. And in that shift, the outer world must follow. The only reason change appears slow is because people waver in their assumptions. They assume success one moment and failure the next. They assume health when they feel well, but sickness when they feel discomfort. They assume abundance when money flows, but lack when bills arrive. This inconsistency keeps them trapped in an endless cycle of mixed results. True assumption is unwavering. It is the silent, steady conviction that what you desire is already yours. It does not argue with appearances, nor does it seek validation from the senses. The senses will always reflect the past, but assumption creates the future. When you assume something deeply enough, you will find that the world begins to shift in subtle ways. People will behave differently toward you. Opportunities will arise where none existed before. Coincidences and synchronicities will unfold with such precision that they can no longer be dismissed as chance. This is not magic, it is law. The outer world is a direct projection of your inner state. You do not need to manipulate circumstances or force events into place. Your only task is to assume the state of your desire and persist in it until it hardens into fact. If you assume wealth, you will find yourself guided toward ideas, people, and situations that bring financial abundance. If you assume love, you will find relationships aligning to reflect that love. If you assume health, your body will respond in kind. Doubt is the great enemy of assumption. The moment you allow doubt to creep in, you undo the work of your assumption. Many people assume something briefly, only to abandon it when they see no immediate results. They let their senses dictate their beliefs, instead of allowing their beliefs to dictate their senses. But assumption is not about instant gratification. It is about faith in the unseen. It is about knowing that the moment you assume, the wheels of creation have already begun turning. Each night before you sleep, you have a great opportunity to shape your reality through assumption. In the drowsy state between wakefulness and sleep, your mind is most receptive to suggestion. Instead of reviewing the worries of the day, use this time to assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Lie in bed and imagine yourself already in possession of your desire. Feel it as vividly as you can. Let the joy, gratitude, and satisfaction of already having it fill your entire being. As you drift into sleep in this state, you impress this assumption upon your subconscious mind. And from that moment forward, it begins working to bring it into reality. Many people believe they must work tirelessly to achieve their desires, but assumption bypasses effort. The one who assumes correctly does not struggle, they simply receive. When you truly assume something, the need for force disappears. You do not need to beg, plead, or chase after what you desire. You simply embody the state of already having it, and life arranges itself to reflect that inner conviction. This is why those who succeed often seem to do so with ease. They do not necessarily work harder than others, nor are they simply lucky. They have assumed success so completely that it has become their natural state. And because it is their natural state, it manifests effortlessly. The same principle applies to all aspects of life. Those who assume happiness experience happiness. Those who assume confidence exude confidence. Those who assume struggle find struggle at every turn. It is never a question of whether assumption works, it is always working. The only question is what you are assuming. Most people assume unconsciously, allowing fears, doubts, and limitations to dominate their inner world. But the moment you take control of your assumptions, you take control of your life. You no longer react to circumstances, you create them. You no longer seek change outside of yourself, you generate from within. To live the life you desire, assume that you already have it. Assume it so fully that it feels real to you. Assume it so persistently that no contrary thought can shake you. Assume it with such conviction that the world has no choice but to conform. Your assumption, once deeply accepted, becomes inevitable. It must manifest, for it is law. Circumstances are nothing more than the reflection of past thoughts, beliefs, and assumptions. They have no inherent power of their own, no ability to dictate what is possible for you, unless you give them such authority. The great error of humanity is the belief that circumstances are fixed, that they are the deciding factor in one's fate, and that they must be obeyed, as though they are unchangeable laws. This illusion keeps many trapped in cycles of imitation, for they look to the external world to determine their inner state, rather than realizing that their inner state is what shapes the external world. Your current situation, no matter how dear or unchangeable it may seem, is nothing more than the outpicturing of past assumptions. Every challenge, every difficulty, every so-called obstacle is simply the result of prior thoughts made manifest. But the good news is this: since these conditions were created by past thoughts, they can just as easily be changed by new thoughts. The moment you shift your assumption, the world begins to rearrange itself accordingly. It may not happen in an instant, but the process begins immediately. Most people make the mistake of allowing circumstances to dictate their state of mind. They believe they must wait for conditions to improve before they can feel happy, successful, or free. They say, I will be happy when I have more money, or I will feel confident when I have achieved my goals. But this is a misunderstanding of the creative process. The outer world does not come first, the inner world does. To change your life, you must first change your inner state, regardless of what your senses tell you. This is where most fail, for they look at their current reality and assume that it must remain as it is. They see lack and assume lack. They see failure and assume failure. They see limitation and assume limitation. They let the evidence of the senses convince them that change is impossible. But the senses only reflect what has already been assumed. They are not the cause, they are the effect. If you desire to see a different reflection, you must first assume a different reality within yourself. Circumstances appear solid, immovable, and absolute, but they are nothing more than shadows cast by past beliefs. Just as a shadow changes when the light shifts, so too do circumstances change when your assumption changes. The moment you accept a new state of being as true, the world begins to move in response. Opportunities arise, doors open, and what once seemed impossible suddenly becomes inevitable. It does not matter where you are, what has happened to you, or what obstacles stand before you. What matters is what you assume to be true from this moment forward. You could have been born into poverty, rejected by society, or burdened with past failures. It does not matter. What matters is what you now claim for yourself. The past has no power except the power you give it by continuing to assume the same limitations. Many believe that they must work harder, struggle longer, or fight against circumstances in order to change their reality. They believe in effort rather than assumption. But assumption requires no struggle, for it operates at the level of causation, not effect. The one who understands this principle does not battle circumstances, they transcend them. They do not seek to force the world to change, they change themselves inwardly and allow the world to follow. When you assume a new reality, you may at first see no evidence of change. The world may seem to remain exactly as it was. This is where most people falter, for they take the absence of immediate results as proof that their assumption is false. But the wise understand that the world operates with a certain inertia, and just as a large ship does not change direction instantly, so too does reality take time to reflect a new assumption. But make no mistake, once the assumption is made and held persistently, change is inevitable. It is not your job to figure out how circumstances will shift. It is only your job to remain faithful to your new assumption. Life will take care of the details. The right people, events and opportunities will appear, often in ways that seem miraculous. You may not see the full picture in the moment, but rest assured, the world is moving to accommodate your new reality. Doubt is the only thing that can delay the process. The moment you question whether change is possible, the moment you let circumstances dictate what you believe, you halt the transformation. This is why persistence is key. You must assume your desired reality so fully that no contradiction can shake you. You must live in the feeling of already having it, already being it, already experiencing it, even if the world seems unchanged. If you persist in this, reality must conform, for it has no choice. Every great success story is one of someone who refused to accept circumstances as final. They saw beyond their present conditions and assumed a greater reality. They did not let failures, setbacks, or difficulties convince them that their desires were unattainable. Instead, they persisted in their assumption until the world had no choice but to reflect it. The same principle is available to you now. You must ask yourself, are you allowing circumstances to control your assumptions, or are you using your assumptions to control your circumstances? Are you looking at the world and accepting it as unchangeable, or are you daring to assume something greater? The answer to these questions determines the course of your life. You are never trapped, never limited, never bound by what is. The moment you assume something new, you set in motion forces that will transform your reality. You do not need permission, nor do you need proof. You only need the willingness to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled and the faith to persist in it, regardless of what your senses tell you. When you do this, you will discover that circumstances are not your master, you are theirs. Persistence is the key to unlocking everything you desire in life. It is not enough to imagine once, to assume once, or to briefly entertain the idea of change. The world around you is merely a reflection of your dominant inner state. And that inner state is determined by what you persistently assume to be true. If you wish to see transformation in your reality, you must hold steadfast to your vision, regardless of what appears before you. The moment you give up, you allow the old state to take hold again. But when you persist, when you refuse to waver, you set into motion an unstoppable force that must, in time, bring your desire into reality. Most people fail, not because they lack the ability to create the life they want, but because they do not persist long enough. They allow doubts to creep in, they give in to appearances, and they waver between belief and disbelief. They assume success one day and failure the next. They imagine their wish fulfilled, but then they check the outer world for confirmation. And when they do not see immediate results, they abandon their assumption. This is the great mistake. The world does not change instantly. It moves in response to the persistence of your inner conviction. Every great achievement, every great transformation is the result of unwavering persistence. Those who have accomplished extraordinary things were not necessarily more talented, more intelligent, or more fortunate than others. They simply refused to accept anything less than what they desired. They did not allow setbacks, obstacles, or delays to deter them. They held their vision so firmly that the world had no choice but to conform. Persistence is not about force, it is about faith. It is the quiet, steady knowing that what you have assumed is already true, even when the evidence around you suggests otherwise. It is the ability to hold your inner vision despite all contradictions in the external world. The senses may try to convince you that nothing is changing, but persistence does not concern itself with appearances. It understands that reality must, in time, reflect the assumption that is most consistently held. When you plant a seed, you do not dig it up each day to see if it is growing. You trust that beneath the soil, unseen forces are at work. You water it, you nurture it, and you give it time to grow. So it is with your assumptions. The moment you assume something to be true, the seed is planted. But if you allow doubt, fear, or impatience to take hold, it is as if you are digging up the seed before it has had a chance to take root. This is why so many people fail to see results. They do not persist long enough for their assumption to solidify into reality. The mind, by its nature, is constantly seeking validation. It looks for proof, for confirmation before it is willing to believe. But this is backward thinking. You do not wait for proof before you assume. You assume and then the proof follows. This is where persistence becomes power. If you can maintain your assumption despite all evidence to the contrary, you will find that the world must eventually yield to your conviction. There will be moments of doubt. There will be times when circumstances appear unchanged, when obstacles seem insurmountable, when everything suggests that your assumption is false. These are the moments that test your persistence. Most people give up in these moments, assuming that nothing is happening. But the truth is, the moment you assume something, the process begins. The unseen forces that govern all creation are already at work. The only way you can stop them is by wavering, by doubting, by falling back into old patterns of belief. True persistence means you do not allow the outer world to dictate what you believe. You do not give in to temporary setbacks, nor do you question whether your assumption is working. You simply persist. You hold the inner feeling of already having, already being, already experiencing what you desire. You return to this feeling every day, reinforcing it, living in it, making it more real to you than anything the senses may show you. The greatest mistake people make is assuming that persistence is difficult. They believe it requires effort, struggle, or force. But true persistence is effortless because it comes from a place of conviction. It is not about straining to believe, it is about knowing so deeply that no doubt can shake you. It is the quiet confidence that what you desire is already yours, and therefore you do not need to force anything into being. You simply allow it to unfold. The world is full of stories of those who persisted despite all odds. The inventor who failed 1,000 times before achieving success. The artist who was rejected over and over before gaining recognition. The entrepreneur who faced countless setbacks before building a thriving business. What set them apart was not luck or circumstance, but persistence. They refused to accept failure as final. They held to their vision, even when the world told them otherwise. And in the end, the world conformed to their belief. You are no different. Whatever you desire, whatever you wish to create, is within your reach if you are willing to persist. The moment you assume it is possible, it becomes possible. The moment you assume it is already yours, reality begins to move in response. But if you abandon your assumption at the first sign of difficulty, you stop the process before it has a chance to complete. Every great success story is a story of persistence. Every person who has achieved their dreams has done so because they refused to give up. They understood that circumstances are irrelevant, that appearances are deceptive, and that the only thing that truly matters is what they persistently assume to be true. There will always be moments when it seems easier to give up, to accept things as they are, to settle for less than what you desire. But these are the moments that define you. Will you persist in your vision, or will you allow the world to dictate what is possible for you? The choice is always yours. The power has always been within you. And the moment you commit to unwavering persistence, you will find that the world bends in response. The world is not separate from you. It is not an external force that acts independently, nor is it something that exists outside of your influence. It is a mirror reflecting back to you the assumptions, beliefs, and feelings you hold within yourself. Everything you experience, every event that unfolds, every person you encounter, is a response to the inner world you have cultivated. The world does not impose itself upon you, it simply responds to the state of consciousness you persist in. Most people believe that they are at the mercy of life, that circumstances dictate their fate, and that they must adapt to whatever conditions arise. They believe that success is determined by luck, that love is found by chance, and that happiness is something to be pursued. But this is an illusion. The truth is that you are the cause, and the world is the effect. You do not chase after success, love, or happiness. You embody them within, and the world reflects them back to you. If you wish to change your life, you must first change yourself. The world does not change by force, nor does it bend to mere wishes or fleeting desires. It responds only to the state of being you assume and persist in. If you believe that life is difficult, that opportunities are scarce, and that people cannot be trusted, then you will find yourself surrounded by hardship, lack, and betrayal. But if you assume that life is effortless, that doors open easily for you, and that people are kind and supportive, then reality will conform to that assumption just as easily. This is not a theory or a philosophy, it is law. The outer world can only reflect what is impressed upon the inner world. You cannot hold thoughts of failure and expect success. You cannot dwell in thoughts of loneliness and expect companionship. You cannot assume lack and expect abundance. The world will never contradict your dominant state of mind. It will only magnify it. Many believe that they must wait for circumstances to change before they can change their assumptions. They look at their current reality and say, I will believe in abundance when I have more money, or I will feel love when the right person comes into my life. But this is backward thinking. The world does not give you something first so that you can then feel it. You must first feel it within yourself, and then the world will provide the confirmation. You must assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled before it appears in the external world. The reason most people fail to manifest their desires is because they allow the outer world to dictate their inner state. They react to what they see rather than creating from within. They look at their circumstances, accept them as reality, and reinforce them with their thoughts and emotions. In doing so, they trap themselves in an endless cycle of repetition, experiencing the same conditions over and over again. But the moment they change their inner world, the outer world must change in response. When you assume a new state, the world begins to move in ways you cannot always see. People behave differently toward you. Opportunities arise where none existed before, and events align with astonishing precision. This is not coincidence, it is the natural response of reality to your inner world. The world does not act randomly, it acts according to the assumptions you hold. It is not enough to merely wish for something or to hope that things will change. The world does not respond to wishes, it responds to conviction. You must embody the state of your desire so fully that it becomes your natural way of being. You must assume that what you desire is already yours, that it is already a part of your life. And once you do, the world will rearrange itself to reflect that assumption. Doubt is the only thing that can delay this process. If you assume something for a short time but then revert to your old beliefs, you halt the change before it has a chance to solidify. The world does not respond to fleeting thoughts. It responds to persistent states of consciousness. If you persist in an assumption long enough, reality has no choice but to reflect it. This is why some people seem to succeed effortlessly while others struggle. Those who succeed have simply assumed success as their natural state. They do not doubt it, they do not question it, and they do not wait for the world to prove it to them. They know it within themselves, and because they know it, the world confirms it. Those who struggle, on the other hand, assume struggle as their state of being. They believe in obstacles, in difficulty, in the need for hard work and sacrifice. And because they believe in these things, the world responds accordingly. Everything in your life is a response to you. The people you meet, the experiences you have, and the conditions you encounter are all reflections of the assumptions you hold. If you find yourself experiencing something undesirable, do not fight against it, change the assumption that created it. If you find yourself in lack, assume abundance. If you find yourself alone, assume companionship. If you find yourself struggling, assume ease. The world does not resist change, it eagerly follows your lead. Many people believe that external effort is required to change their reality. They believe they must work harder, do more, and push against circumstances. But the most powerful changes come not from effort, but from assumption. The moment you shift your inner state, the outer world begins to conform. You do not need to force things into being. You simply need to persist in the assumption that they are already true. Your imagination is the tool through which you shape reality. Whatever you hold in imagination with persistence and feeling will manifest in the world around you. If you wish to experience a new reality, begin by living in it within your mind. Feel it as if it were already real, dwell in the emotions it would bring, and assume it so completely that no contradiction can shake you. The world will take care of the rest. The key to mastering this principle is to stop reacting to the world and start creating it. Do not wait for change, assume change. Do not look to circumstances for confirmation, create the confirmation within yourself. Once you understand that the world is responding to you at all times, you will realize that nothing is out of reach. There are no obstacles except those you assume to be real. There are no limits except those you impose upon yourself. You are not at the mercy of life. Life is at the mercy of you. The moment you take control of your assumptions, the moment you decide to see the world not as it is, but as you wish it to be, the world will transform before your eyes. It must, for it is only ever responding to you. Nothing is out of reach for the one who understands the power of assumption. The only limits that exist are those you accept as true. The world does not dictate what you can or cannot have. It merely reflects what you persistently believe. The idea that some things are impossible, that certain dreams are too far beyond reach, is nothing more than an illusion reinforced by the senses. But the senses do not create reality. They merely confirm what has already been assumed. The moment you realize this, you free yourself from limitation and step into the boundless potential of your own consciousness. There is nothing special about those who achieve great things except for one simple truth. They refuse to accept that anything is beyond them. They do not question whether they are worthy or capable. They do not seek permission from the world to pursue their desires. They assume with absolute certainty that what they desire is already theirs. And because they assume it, the world must comply. Reality bends to the will of the one who knows their power. Most people look at their circumstances and conclude that their desires are unattainable. They allow appearances to dictate what they believe is possible. They say, I do not have the money, so I cannot be wealthy, or I do not know the right people, so I cannot succeed. But these conclusions are based on an illusion. Circumstances are not fixed, they are fluid. They do not determine what is possible. They are the result of past assumptions. If you continue to assume limitation, you will continue to experience it. But the moment you assume a new reality, the outer world begins to shift in response. The law is simple: what you assume to be true becomes true. It does not matter how distant your desire seems or how impossible it appears. It does not matter whether logic can explain how it will happen. The only thing that matters is that you claim it within yourself. You must assume the feeling of already having what you seek. You must embody the state of being that matches your desire. When you do, the world has no choice but to reflect it back to you. This is why some people rise from nothing to extraordinary success while others remain stagnant despite their efforts. It is not luck, nor is it intelligence or external advantage. It is the difference between those who assume success as an inevitability and those who believe it is beyond them. The former persist in the conviction that they already possess what they seek, while the latter allow doubt and circumstance to control them. If you desire something, it is already yours in consciousness. The fact that you can imagine it means that it exists within you, and what exists within must in time be externalized. But you must not waver. You must not allow the outer world to convince you otherwise. The moment you entertain doubt, you delay the process. The moment you question whether your desire is possible, you place obstacles in your own path. To claim what is yours, you must assume it so fully that no contradiction can shake you. You must live in the end, feel the reality of desire fulfilled, and trust that the world will align accordingly. It does not matter if there is no visible evidence at first. The seed is planted the moment you assume it. Just as a tree does not sprout the instant a seed is placed in the soil, your desire takes time to materialize. But rest assured, the process has begun, and as long as you persist, it must manifest. Most people fail not because their desires are unreachable, but because they give up too soon. They look for immediate proof, and when they do not see it, they abandon their assumption. But reality does not work that way. The unseen forces that shape existence move according to belief, and belief must be sustained. If you persist in your assumption, even in the face of opposing circumstances, you will see your desire take form. There is no desire too great, no goal too ambitious, no dream too far beyond reach. The only question is whether you are willing to claim it. Do you believe in the inevitability of your success? Or do you allow doubt to rule you? Do you trust in the unseen forces that govern creation? Or do you insist on relying on external validation? The choice is always yours. But know this: the moment you commit fully to your assumption, reality must obey. Nothing is out of reach because there are no real barriers except those you create in your own mind. The world is not against you. It is not preventing you from achieving your desires. It is simply responding to the state of being you occupy. If you feel lack, the world reflects lack. If you feel abundance, the world reflects abundance. If you embody success, opportunities arise effortlessly. This is the nature of existence. Many people believe they must struggle, that they must work tirelessly to force their dreams into being. But effort alone does not create success. It is not struggle that brings fulfillment, it is assumption. Those who achieve great things do so not because they fought harder, but because they assumed the reality of their desires with unwavering certainty. They did not hope, they knew. They did not wish, they claimed. And because they claimed it, the world delivered. If you understand this principle, you will never again see anything as impossible. You will never again doubt your ability to achieve what you desire. You will know that the world is fluid, that it molds itself to match your assumptions, and that no condition is permanent unless you believe it to be. You will step into your power, realizing that you are the creator of your reality. What do you desire, whatever it is, assume it is already yours. Dwell in the feeling of its fulfillment. Do not concern yourself with how it will come to be. The means will be provided in ways you cannot predict. Your only task is to remain faithful to your assumption. Let go of doubt, ignore appearances, and persist in your inner conviction. The moment you accept this truth, the world will shift in ways that seem miraculous. Events will align, people will appear, opportunities will emerge, all in perfect synchrony with your belief. But it is not a miracle, it is simply the law in action. The world is responding to you as it always has, and as it always will. There is nothing outside of your reach, nothing beyond your ability to claim. The only limits are those you accept. Refuse to accept them. Refuse to see obstacles where none exist. Assume your desires are already fulfilled, and the world will confirm it. This is the truth that has shaped every success, every achievement, every extraordinary life. It is the truth that can shape yours as well.